Since its founding in 1889 as the Decatur Female Seminary, Agnes Scott's aim has been to educate women to think deeply, live honorably, and engage the intellectual and social challenges of their times.
One of our distinguished graduates from the class of 1928, Rachel Henderlight, who went on to be the first woman ordained in the Presbyterian Church, once wrote about Agnes Scott that when she got here, the faculty threw open the windows and doors of her mind and her soul. And the amazing thing is I hear almost exactly those same words from alumni from the 50s, from the 70s, the 90s, and from our current students. I think that's at the heart of a liberal arts college education.
Over time, certain traits have come to define a Scottie. These traits are an integral part of the very fabric of life at Agnes Scott and include honor, leadership, and a sense of social responsibility. They are part of a campus culture that also weaves together rigorous academics, long-standing traditions, and lasting friendships into a rich tapestry that is one of the enduring gifts from the college to its alumni. From our first day at Agnes Scott, we were surrounded by the beauty of the campus and 12 decades of values and traditions. One important value was honor. It was the backbone of the Agnes Scott experience from day one.
The first day that you got to Agnes Scott, you signed the honor code, and it really carries on with you, not just during the 4 years at Agnes Scott, but once you leave this campus. I went on to get my law degree, and after that I got another degree in taxation, and I remember feeling as though I carried that honor code with me to 2 other schools, and I remember thinking, if you don't keep your integrity and your honesty, you're really doing nothing but cheating yourself, and I really do to this day still live by that honor code.
Academics at Agnes have always been challenging. We were asked to rethink what we thought we knew and to look at all sides of an issue. Faculty set high expectations, and this led to personal and academic growth for us.
I got my first C in women's studies, and that was definitely a poignant memory in the sense that I obviously was surprised about that and remember discussing that with my friends back at home, and they were totally mystified. I mean, very pro-woman, why would I get a C in women's studies? But it's a challenging experience. So.
Have you ever thought about why you got a C in women's studies?
Oh yeah, it was hard.
Oh.
It was hard. I mean, and I think that's a good thing. It challenged me. It wasn't a sense of entitlement. You couldn't walk in and just expect, even though I may have excelled in classes before, every woman in the class had excelled.
In addition to challenging us to excel in class, the faculty at Agnes Scott became an extension of family by taking a personal interest in our lives.
I remember my senior year, it was just a really challenging year academically for me. I was, of course, waiting until that last semester to take that math class that I had been putting off, and I was not doing well. There was a reason why I was putting it off, and my 21st birthday was coming around, and little did I know that my faculty quasi-advisor and Spanish teacher had actually made a whole entire feast in her home, invited all my friends, and hosted me in a surprise birthday party.
That's amazing.
Just to let me know, you can do this, keep going. It was such a special moment for me, and it reminded me how many hands it took along the way to get me to that graduation point.
At Agnes, we developed the confidence to speak up. Each of us learned to find our voice.
I was at an alumni leadership conference here one time, and they had a freshman, a sophomore, junior, senior to speak to the group. And they started at the top and worked down, and the freshman started talking, and she was so, and somebody said, "Speak up, please." And she says, "I'm not used to speaking out loud." And somebody says, "That's something you will learn before you leave Agnes Scott."
I think Agnes Scott helps you cultivate your voice. You're amongst other women, you feel a bit more comfortable. It's not always a comfortable situation, but you realize that you have a voice, that you have something to say, that you have something to stand for. And Agnes Scott really cultivated that, I know in me and I'm sure in a lot of people as well.
Getting involved helped to shape our campus community and shape ourselves.
Being the only African American student on campus in the late 60s, for me, initially, was like being in a parallel universe where not one thing, not a few things, but everything was different. But as time moved on, as the years progressed, those differences became less noticeable as I became more involved in student life and extracurricular activities. So I was just another student going to college.
I think the women who come to Agnes Scott are already kind of trailblazers. They are coming here with an attitude of, I want to do it all. And most importantly, I think we really reinforce that at Agnes Scott, I want to make a difference. You know, at the end of my life, I want to look back and say, did I make a difference in the world in which I lived?
Traditions connect us to all the Scotties who came before us and to all who will come after us, creating bonds between generations. For example, the Hubs sing, gathering around the piano to sing college songs such as God of the Marching Centuries.
I still hear that today, and it just does something to me.
And then there's Black Cat. From its humble origins in 1915, it has grown into an occasion for displays of mischief, feistiness, and good-natured fun.
My class, we did a few really fun pranks. We were really good at that. I think that was sort of our niche. We forked the quad one year, and one year we also moved Dean Hudson's office out onto the quad. The entire setup. We moved out the carpet and everything, the rug and all, and she conducted business the next day out on the quad.
Black Cat was so entirely different in 1950. Well, 47 was the year that I arrived on the campus. It was one night of skits and songs between the freshman and the sophomore, but it was just the one night.
Did you have a dance?
Dance?
No.
You know, it was all over by, I guess, 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
The ring ceremony is one of the richest traditions at Agnes Scott. The distinctive onyx ring means it's always easy to spot a Scottie, wherever that might be.
I went to Caen. I was studying abroad in France. I was standing on a street and trying to figure out like the bus route or whatever, and I didn't know a soul. And then all of a sudden, I hear just in plain English, "Laura Hawk, what are you doing here?" I turned around, it was a classmate of mine who was studying in northern France, and she said, "I thought it was you when I saw your ponytail, but I knew it was you when I saw your ring."
We're all proud members of the Black Ring Mafia, but few know the origins of the name.
The Black Ring Mafia story actually started with me and Susan Thomas from the class of 1966. We were changing committee chairs at my church one time, and this man was talking to the incoming chair, and he looked over at me and Kathy Ash, and he said, "And if you get two women with those black rings, just find out what they want to do, because that will happen whether you plan it or not." So I was telling this story to Susan a day or two later, and Susan said, "Oh, the Black Ring Mafia." And I keep hearing about the Black Ring Mafia all the time. Yes. But that's how it started.
You should be so proud.
For many of us, the friendships we make at Agnes Scott don't just last till graduation. They last a lifetime.
Honestly, there is something magic that happens at, I think, mainly women's colleges, and particularly at Agnes Scott, in terms of friendships.
Former Dean of Students Gay Pardue Hudson and Ann Glendenning, both from the class of 1968, have been best friends for as long as they can remember. So long that they're not sure exactly how they met. But Gay will never forget the first time she saw Ann.
The first time I ever knew who she was, our first year, is Anne was a very good swimmer, and is still a very good swimmer. And they had this contest of who could swim underwater the longest. And so Anne kept, the whole student body was there, and Anne kept going and going. I thought, boy, this woman's like a porpoise. And then all of a sudden, the chair of the PE department jumps in and saves her because she had passed out. But
I won.
But she won. So she is very focused, and but that was the first time I ever knew who she was.
After college, we roomed together a little bit. We both got married. We started careers. Gay started having babies. I started a PhD program. There's just a lot of other things. We moved away, came back. A lot of things kept us from frequent communication. But when we did get together or talked, it was immediate. It was like there was no catching up. It was just immediate.
It was a little bit difficult, but we were always there for each other in the important things.
We make a point of talking several times a week and trying to have dinner
Once a month.
Once a month at least. And now, since we've both retired, a lot more often than that.
Lifelong friendships are one thing, but Giselle and her friends take the concept of sisterhood to a whole new level.
We have a 1 mile rule, and we are all living currently within about a mile away from each other. And we have breakfast every morning.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my word. And quite frankly, we talk about retiring. Like the Golden Girls.
We should say happy birthday to Agnes Scott College, this place we love so much, and we have another guest here that Flat Agnes had to be here. But we do want to say happy birthday. This place has shaped us, every one of us, and who we are as human beings, as professional women, as citizens, as mothers and wives and friends. And what a great place, and I just want to say happy birthday. Anybody else?
May you continue to enrich all the lives that you touch in such meaningful ways. You shape lives here.
There really is something magical about Agnes Scott. It's the sisterhood, it's the fact that we are a women's college, that there is that focus on women's empowerment, that we are a liberal arts college, that we are serious about intellectual engagement and intellectual curiosity. It's not only about what kind of career will you have, but who will you become? What will you stand for? That is something that distinguishes Agnes Scott women across the generations.